Hi everyone, my name is Romano Depolo and I'm a journalist for a magazine and a webzine here in Italy. If you're turning in today, it's probably because you're curious about what's been happening in the seventh wonder world over the last few years, let's say. Well, we're in the right place because today I'm joined by two people who can really shed some light on what's gone on in recent months. First of all, Mr. Baseman himself, Andreas Blomqvist. How are you, Andreas? Welcome.
Thank you very much. Doing well. Happy to be here and happy to talk to everybody out there who are curious about what's been going on and what's about to happen.
Great. And then, of course, the man everyone has been talking about lately, the singer of Seventh Wonder, Mattias Olofsson. Hi, Mattias, and thanks so much for taking the time to be here with us.
Hi, so nice being here. Really fun to finally, I can finally speak about Seventh Wonder. Feels wonderful.
Great. I first met Seventh Wonder at a show in a very small place in Norway 19 years ago. The name was Notodden. And I've been following their journey closely for all those years. And in this period, I've also had the pleasure of catching up with them on many of their Italian tour dates. By the way, Andreas, there are rumors that are going around that you've actually played more shows in Italy than in Sweden. Is that true?
Wow. Gee, probably. To tell you the truth, probably. I mean, it's probably a close shave, but for the sake of this interview and because you're a good friend and we love our Italian crew, so let's just say yes.
Okay. Let's start the real interview. And as I said, we are here today because over the last 2.5 years, very little has been known about what was really happening within the band. And it was started back in June 23 when your previous singer, Tommy Karevic, wrote a long and emotional message to let the fans know that he was leaving Seventh Wonder. You sent a message as well, but now the question is, what really happened back in time?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, what you saw is what you got, more or less. There was no hidden drama or any weirdness or any conflict or anything like that. We parted on the best of terms, and since I'm also so close with Tommy, this was brewing for quite a while. So this is the situation was more or less unsustainable. Tommy had a full-time job with Camelot and was also playing with Arian and a bunch of other outings, Avantasia, living in Canada, which is a 9-hour time difference on the other side of the world, northwest, out in Vancouver most of the time, although sometimes in Calgary. And, I think it's important to say that it had to happen, if Tommy wanted to pursue Camelot and we wanted to keep doing what we were doing, those things had to be mutually exclusive. And I think it was also fair to the fans, to us, and to everyone involved to just kind of own up to that and admit it, that it wasn't working. And, we had to, and I'm not saying this to shame Tommy in any way, shape, or form. I love him. But, of course, because of his schedule, Camelot came first. We had to say no to a lot of things. We had to postpone Seventh Wonder activities. And, of course, that meant that he was torn between what he had to do and also some of the things that he wanted to do, because of course a big part of his heart was left in the band with us, and he was a big part of shaping us into what we were. So it came to a point where it was just very frustrating. And since I am usually on the producing side of the band, making sure that new albums happen and whatnot, it was hard to try to constantly tug at him and pull at him while he had his other endeavors going on. They were of course always taking precedence. So, we just had to wake up and smell the coffee. And at the end of the day, it was not fair to him, to us, to the fans, or anyone to just keep that kind of facade up. So we're like, hey man, this has to happen. He was all on board. We were all on board. We parted as friends. We wish him nothing but the best. He wishes us nothing but the best. And after that, we just sat down, we looked at each other, me and you, we've been doing this since the late 90s. And it's like, there's just no way we cannot do this. We have to play music together. That's what we do. So let's just, you know, shake off the dust, keep doing what we're doing, scan what's out there, and let's find a new tag team partner, new brother for the band, and that's what happened, and here we are.
In this period, have you ever thought that it would have been the end of Seventh Wonder? Did you ever take into consideration this option?
I guess I kind of answered that. I think basically I sat down with you one, and also, to be fair, Kurtz has also been there since almost the beginning of Seventh Wonder at least, and we just kind of looked at each other and it's like, you know, we may be old and the beard is starting to get gray here and there, but there's just, for us, playing together is, we've been doing it half our lives. It's a big part of who we are in our lives. So no, not really, to be honest. This is who we are, and there's nothing else we can do. You know, for better or for worse, as old as we may get, and whether people like it or not, you know, whether we end up just playing at the pizza place down the street, we'll probably keep doing this until the strings fall off or the head falls off, or whichever comes first.
And you had a chance to see Tommy live with the new band after the split, or maybe have you met him after the split?
Yeah. I mean, we hang out whenever anybody is on the same continent. We hang out and we catch up. So yeah, it's all good. They're doing well, and I'm super happy for them.
Okay, so let's come closer to the moment where we are now, and let's start when you decided to find a new singer. So was that a complex path, or was it easy? What happened?
Yeah, you know, for us, it was super important to make sure that we, you know, don't get out of the fire and into the frying pan, as they say in the US. You know, we wanted to make sure that we could find somebody who'd be here for us, who could join at rehearsals, who we could go out for dinner, you know, and have fun with and create music together. So, you know, that's really what we set out to do. And then, you know, we're privileged enough to sit here with a record deal and, you know, a past. So we kind of, you know, we went through, checked out all the bands we could find, and at a certain point, you know, we found this video from Mattias' band Grand, and it's like, man, you know, it's a different flavor, but this is good, you know. So digested that a bit, and we figured we got to reach out.
So Mattias, just to introduce yourself and your preferences, so to speak. What are your main musical influences, and who would you call your heroes?
Well, I learned to sing by listening to all the 70s and 80s tenors, so rock tenors. But I think it's really hard to choose. But I would say the singers that influenced me the most, I think it's Steve Perry, it's David Coverdale, Joey Tempest, of course. He was a sweetie. You listened to him a lot when you were a kid, and also Paul McCartney is also one of my absolute favorites. He could sing in every kind of band, in every genre. So I have some heroes, but it was the melodic rock of the 70s and the 80s, I would say, I listened to the most, and that formed me and shaped me. Then I worked as a singer for so many years. I've sing a lot of genres, but it always comes back to that. This is what my heart is.
Andreas kind of explained how was the first contact and how did they meet you for the first time. But what can you tell about the day when you received the call, or when you saw for the first time the guys?
Yeah, it was. I think it was like 1.5 years ago now, and it was Stefan who called me and told me about the band and they've heard Grand and that they were looking for a new singer and how they wanted to be, and if I was interested, and it was great. And I listened to them, and I've heard about them before, but I haven't listened deep. So I listened to them, and it was so good, and it was melodic and a lot of great melodies. And I felt that, well, I think this will be a great fit. And they were in Stockholm. You know, their lives were also a lot like mine. So it could be a good fit. So from that, we and then it was they were thorough guys, and I really think that was a good thing, because we had a long process before we decided they decided they wanted me as a singer. So.
And what can you tell us about the feelings that you had when you were officially offered the microphone of Seventh Wonder?
It was really nice, because then I sang on one of the old songs. I recorded just a quick, or just a demo for the guys, and then we wrote the next part with that. We wrote a song together, and after that I felt really connected. So I was hoping that, okay, now I've put some heart in this, and I really will like these guys and their music, and so I hoped they felt mutual, and so it was really nice when they said, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah.
You already experienced in the past a change of singer, and this is the second time that you have to do that. Do you believe that there will be changes in the style of Seventh Wonder? What will be the impact of Mattias in the new music?
Yes, of course there will be. It's such an integral part, the voice of the band. I mean, no matter how you flip it, twist it, or turn it, or shake it or bake it, and how much the instrumental passages are an important part of what we do, the face of the band will always be the voice of the band. So, I think this is going to be a change. At the same time, like I've alluded to previously in this little talk here, we've been writing music together for such a long time, and you kind of, in a bad way, you could say you get stuck in a rut, but also you found your identity. We do what we do, and there's just no dramatic changing that, no matter whether you wanted to or not. So, and since the rest of us old boys are also still writing a lot of the music, a lot of it will be the same, but thankfully, this will be a new chapter. I mean, we're super proud of our legacy. That will always be there for anybody to pick up and listen to, right? And there's no point in trying to record those albums again. So I'm just super happy to do something new. As a musician, it's also, it's this weird thing, and I think that most anybody out there has also been in a band, probably, and getting in the Middle Ages will probably also know what I'm talking about. It's like, you're a kid, and then you just absorb everything. You get super excited, and then you practice like crazy, trying to emulate your heroes, and then you get something that you kind of like, and you have your band, and you're just striving to be the best, and then all of a sudden you're kind of who you are, and then it gets almost difficult to change. So when life throws you a little curveball, it's just, you just jump up on that horse, slap it on the butt, and ride with it. So I think this is going to be something fun, and it will certainly take us new places. I mean, it would be boring if it didn't. So, I'm pretty happy with where we're going. And like Mattias said, we spent some time there. It was full on scrutiny. So, like he said, he covered some of their old songs, but then for us, it was more important. Of course, we had to know that he could belt it out, but then it was super important to see if we tossed some of our stuff at him, which, weird key changes, a lot of strange arrangements at times. What can you do with this? And, immediately he just wrote a couple of, the vocals for new songs. We recorded them and also checked with the label and everything. So that was key in this. So very lengthy reply to that question. So everybody will probably, just as you put on the new album, they'll hear it's us, much as they probably do with a cover that's out now. But this will hopefully, and I really hope so, and I mean that in the best of way, take us to new places too sonically. And I cannot see how that's not going to happen. And I'm very excited about the way it's sounding so far.
Mattias said that you started to contact him 1.5 years ago. But in that time, was the songwriting process already started, or did you start just when he kind of joined the band?
Gee, I hardly remember. Maybe you're going to have to come in here, Mattias. But we probably had written 3-4 songs. I mean, instrumentally. Well, what do you say, Mattias? Something like that.
Yeah, I think actually it was 3 or 4 songs, four maybe, that you had written and pretty much, and then you were a couple of them were in progress, but I started writing on one track, and then I think I started on like, yeah, four tracks were pretty much in the bag.
So Mattias, I understand correctly, you have been involved in songwriting process of the band.
Yeah, all songs. We were all involved in all songs, and that's also a big thing for me, and that's what makes you feel be in the band as well. If I would be the new singer and they were just throwing me songs here, sing this, then it wouldn't be the same. So, and I think we talked about that from the first phone call. Actually, that's what they wanted, and I also said, well, that's great because that's what I want too. So we all from the beginning of the songs are all involved in them.
Tommy was deeply involved in writing lyrics and vocal melodies in the past. As you have been involved in this process as well, did you try to stick closely to the established style, or did you follow your instincts and your musical roots?
I will think it's exactly in the middle, because as Andreas says, they've been writing music their way for so long, and they're throwing me and have their flavor. And of course, I have to adapt to that and do stuff on that. But with that said, I have my own creative brain that no one else has. They have their own, like, so I have my creative brain and my influences and my voice and stuff. So I put a lot of my personality in that, of course, but it's still from their tracks and my melodies and vocals. So it's I think it's a perfect mix, actually. Yeah.
Andreas, I would say that you have started the new year with the right step, because you have introduced a new singer, but you have also present to fans a new song. Everybody knows perfectly the reason why you decided to go through a cover instead of a new song. But could you explain what is the reason why you choose Eternal Flame by John Norum from Total Control?
Yeah. So for 25, going on 30 years, we've always been fighting about what covers to play. Like people were like, we started, do you ever play covers? And like, I'd love to, but we can't freaking get along. So that's always hellish. So it was like, I don't know what was going to take the longest time, agreeing on a cover or like writing a new song or delaying the album, So we decided on a cover anyway, and we had to beat the keyboard player Kurt down and tie him up. He did not want to do this song, but I guess he was voted down. It's a little bit, Kurt is not too much into the too straight, 4/4 80s rock. Like he can get in on Phil Collins and more of that type of things, but once it gets too much rock and roll, he usually jumps ship. But anyway, at least we did an arrangement, and we started with the pianos and stuff like that, so I think he was happy in the end. But anyway, I digress, as I most often do. I love the song. I love it. My biggest hero musically was Marcel Jacob, the bass player from Talisman and Yngwie. And so after he left Yngwie's band, he got together with John Norum, and of course they knew each other. Marcel was even in Europe for a while. I mean, he wrote Scream of Anger for Europe, also one of my favorite tracks. And he wrote this entire album, and it's such a fun riff to play. So forever and ever with playing with U1, we would like warm up, when everybody's plugging in at a show or at a rehearsal, and we jam on that riff. So it was almost like something it was kind of meant to be. I really love the song. And, to be fair, also, I think even though, John Norum sings on a lot of the tracks, but this particular track is Göran Edman, or Goran Edman. He was singing on also 2 Yngwie albums, and kind of in that Europe vein still, even though a bit harder maybe. And I also thought that this will probably a good, this will be right up Mattias's alley, I think, vocally. I don't know, what would you think about that, Mattias?
Yeah, my absolute first heroes were Europe. I knew I had all the bootlegs, everything, and I love them. And I've of course, listen to Jon Norum's albums as well, though I think Face the Truth is the best one. But but I listened to them a lot. So for it was kind of a full circle. We met like perfectly there. So yeah, and I love Jan Edman. Absolutely, he's amazing. So it was fun.
And it's super fun to play. Like, I just love that. The riff, it's fun. So, we thought it would be a good thing. Picked up the speed a little bit, shifted around the solos and the intro, made a little bit Seventh Wonder. But I think there were already some people that were afraid, like, is this the way the album's going to sound? And it's like, no, it will not. Fear not. But it was a fun thing. Covers are supposed to be fun also, I think. So, yeah.
Yes, many fans are asking themselves, how will sound this new MK4 of the Seventh Wonder? Your previous album, The Testament, was released 4 years ago in 2022. Is it possible to track some similarities between The Testament and the new music?
Gee, that's always hard to answer when you're in it. For me, I've been continuously writing music for this band since the summer of 2000, almost 26 years ago. And, there's a constant process of you growing as a musician and as a person, and you keep writing things. And, at some point, somebody draws the line and says, okay, these songs go on this album. You keep writing, and you're producing the album, record it, and you tour, and you keep writing. And, okay, somebody draws a new line, and these songs end up on this album. So at least for me, there's never like, well, okay, not true. Sometimes you want to write for like a concept album and you're more deliberate about the tracks you're going to write. But when you're not doing that, it's just a continuous thing. So for me, and I think if you ask the other guys also, it's kind of seamless. We didn't change the formula. We didn't do it any other way. We just kept writing. So, I'm sure there are some tracks off of Tiara that would seamlessly fit with Testament, and some of the Testament that will seamlessly fit into this. So no like deliberate steps like that. I'm happy to say though that, like Mattias said, I mean, he writes all the vocals. Him and me will write the lyrics together, much in the same way I did with Andy, and then with Tommy, and now with Mattias, because that's also it's something very dear to me. I love it. So Mattias and I work on those, but Mattias also brought, at least, 2 complete original ideas too that ended up on the album. So that was pretty fast. Like 2, right? Or like 1.5, depending on how you count.
Yeah, that's how you count. But yeah, it feels great.
So guys, you don't want to tell too many things about the music and the style, but maybe you want your fans to be curious until the moment of the release of the album. And in this respect, do you have a tentative date for the release of that?
No, we don't. We're making really good progress. And again, I wanted to be sure that we didn't say like, oh, we're going to go in the studio. So we end up what happened 2014 where everything got delayed again. So, all the drums are done. A lot of the instrumentation is done. Mattias has already laid down a lot of lead work. So, we're not done yet, but we're making good progress. We hope to deliver everything to the label in the not too distant future. And, the album is scheduled for 2026. More than that, I do not know at this point. We're super anxious to get it out and just take it to the stage,
Okay. Could you tell us something more about surprises, connections among different songs? Is that a concept, first of all, or is that separate themes?
No, separate songs, and not a concept album. So no theme like that. Lyrically, some new flavors in Mattias being there, and of course times change, right? I think maybe lyrics are a little bit more contemporary this time. Not that we ever were really a sword and sorcery type of band, but maybe some mythology at some point. And I think we're a little bit more here and now. We'll see, how that is. Musically, I'm very excited about the first single. Like, I don't really. What can we say something about that musically, Mattias, to kind of spill the beans just a tad?
Oh, it's hard, but but it's yeah, no, I don't know what to say actually, how to describe it. It's hard, but it's a great song. That's
It's kind of upbeat, you know.
it
Maybe
is.
it's a lot of let's put it this way. There's a lot of Kurt, the keyboard player in this. Kurt was instrumental in, for instance, like Victorious. I think that's something like that. It makes me happy listening to it.
No.
I love what Mattias did with the chorus. Can't wait to share you guys. A lot of cool bass stuff in there. You know, it's going to be good. And but yeah, we go to some darker places, and I love some of the themes that we have, and some more epic things, some heavier things, and we also take a little, you know, take it down here and there. You know, you always try to create something new, and it's always always equally difficult because you are who you are. But I'm just so happy because the addition of Mattias to this will make it new. Even if I fail at being novel, it will be new anyway, just because of that.
Mattias, I ask this question to you because I hope that you are the good guy. Andreas is the bad guy. He doesn't want to give us too many information. So my question is, you know the title of the album, right?
Well, we kind of know, but I don't think we're going to give that away. Actually, I'm not that good guy.
Okay,
Yeah.
I was joking. I was joking. So we could ask now. We could face a new chapter. We have been talking about the past, the present, and let's a little bit talk about the future. Because now, Andreas, you said that now we have a full-time and dedicated singer in the band. Does this mean that we can expect the band to play more live shows than you did in the past?
Yes.
So this is your goal.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said at the very first question of this conversation, it was very frustrating to turn down concerts because of, you know, scheduling conflicts. Again, no shaming anyone, but it was a drag. And there is no I saw an interview recently with James Hetfield of Metallica, and the interviewer said, like, after all these years, you go up there and you play like Enter Sandman. How hard is it to kind of get into it? And I don't want to compare ourselves to them, but it's like, he said, it's the easiest thing in the world, man, because there is nothing quite like the first, after you figure out the sound on the first part of the first song, to connect with the people right in your face when you feel the passion and the sweat, and you're there live, and it's kind of, you're just releasing everything and the years that went into this album. So to get to do that, and Mattias bringing, you know, vibrant energy to that, and an enthusiasm to that, man, I can't wait. And I'm sure we're going to be able to do set lists that we haven't done before. I cannot curb my enthusiasm. I can't. I literally can't wait to get out there.
Yes. Have you ever thought about the fact that 2026 will mark the 20th anniversary of Waiting in the Wings? What does that milestone mean to you?
You know, yeah, it was probably more so last year, because that was the 20th anniversary of the first album, Become, because that's, you know, when it kind of got real. So that was a big deal, and, you know, it makes you think back to when we were kids and playing with Andy, the first singer, and, you know, that was a long time ago. But if you specifically ask me about Waiting in the Wings, what I remember the most was probably that we went down to Denmark and mixed the album at Jailhouse Studios with Tommy Hansen, and he had, you know, the gold album from Keeper of the Seven Keys on the wall, and, you know, we were what, 26 or something, got starstruck. So that was cool. Yeah, time flies.
Have you ever thought about the option of re-recording the old stuff with Mattias on vocals? Could this be an option?
Well, I mean, that's the first thing he did when he got in the band, right? So, of course, certainly an option. And it might be a good filler if we need it. But you know, it's also like you only have so much time. And for me, it would be fun. Like there are many songs that I can't wait to have Mattias sing on them live. And you know, the world will find out, right? But when we have time in the studio, I really want to make sure we get new stuff out there, and that's my top priority. I don't know, Mattias, if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I feel the same. Of course, it will be fun to dig into the old material, but right now we have to put all our focus and our energy on the new material, and then we'll see.
It could be a good idea for some bonus tracks for a live album, or I don't know.
It takes a long time, and we're very, very, very particular about the level. Like we don't release stuff that doesn't sound good, you know. So recording it and for us to relearn also stuff you did like 15, 20 years, you know. No, but all jokes aside, it's a fun idea. And if there was infinite amounts of time, absolutely, hands down, that would be super fun. It takes time. It costs money. It costs time, and it's not the top priority. But yeah, super fun. You know, if there's a time and place for it, for sure.
According to the encyclopedias and all the magazines in the world, you are in the progressive metal genre. And I have to say that unfortunately, progressive metal doesn't have the same level of popularity it had in the early 2000s. How do you see Seventh Wonder's role in today's metal scene?
Right. I mean, you know, we're the old guys now. 2007 when we met, you know, we had just gotten started. You know, we were in our late 20s. Now we're pushing 50. Times change, and we don't. You know, that's the name of the game. You know, I think very few bands, if any, like Queen, and there are some Genesis, maybe very few bands really like reinvent themselves. I think there's a natural progress to things. Like right now with Mattias is going to be a different chapter. You know, we'll turn the page and we'll turn into something new. But I think the same thing goes for a lot of the bands that came out there. You know, either they kind of faded away, or maybe lost interest. We've been fortunate enough to release things that have kept people coming to the shows and being interested, and I'm feel so blessed by that, and I'm so grateful that people have stuck by us through thick and thin, and also when nothing much has happened. But you know, it's also, I think, very much so that you also kind of get stuck. Like I listen very much to the same thing I did 20, 30 years ago, and maybe we're all guilty of that to some extent. And you know, so I don't think we will not be the ones to renew the genre, but I'm sure there's young people out there who are just waiting for an opportunity to release the next mind-blowing stuff. And then I got to say, with the internet, you see these, like, you know, there could be like a 12-year-old girl from Albania who like plays in ways I couldn't dream of. You know, it's like times have changed. It was easier to impress somebody with like behind the head tapping in 2003 than it is today. So I think also, you know, you can only take progressive metal so far in to make it weird, but they're all cool bands like Tosin Abasi, the guitar player of Animals as Leaders. Like that is mind-boggling, fascinating stuff. You know, it's not something that gets my head bopping as a good Coverdale song, but I think maybe we're at the end of that. And I think it's great that we're still around and we do things, and that, you know, everything had its time and a place, and we still enjoy it much in the same way as I still enjoy Iron Maiden or anything else today. I'm super proud of what we're doing. We're not the ones who will be renewing the genre. And, you know, as long as people support us and come to see what we're doing, I couldn't be happier. But you know, I'm probably not the you know, well enough versed in what's going on in the scene today to make any kind of intelligent comments or analysis about where the scene is going or where it is today. I don't know, Mattias, how you feel about today's bands or whatever, but I'm going to leave it at that.
No, I'm living in the past. Well, listen to bands. It's all bands mostly. Yeah.
Guys, I thank you very, very much for your time. you perfectly know that your fans were hungry of news coming from Seventh Wonder, and I'm sure that due to this brief talk, they will understand what has happened, and they are very optimistic for the future, not only for the song that you have released yesterday, but also for the words that you have declared clearly. So the future is bright, the best is yet to come. So let's connect it and let's wait for news from Seventh Wonder. Thank you very much. Take care.